Alright, let's move on to the physiology of the circulation. Blood flow is the volume of blood flowing through a vessel, an organ, or the entire circulation in a given period. The blood pressure is the force per unit area exerted on the vessel wall by the contained blood. The highest blood pressure is in the aorta and the large systemic arteries. Progressively falls the further blood is from the ventricle. How does blood get back to the heart from capillaries despite low blood pressure in veins? Skeletal muscle contractions and one-way valves in the veins. The average blood pressure is 120/80. It's typically measured in the brachial artery on your arm. The difference between the two is the pulse. The top number is systolic, the pressure when the ventricles are contracting, and the bottom number is diastolic, the pressure when the ventricles are relaxing. Resistance is the opposition of flow, which measures the amount of friction blood encounters as it passes through the vessels. The blood flow is generated due to the pumping action of the heart. The blood pressure occurs as a result of resistance in opposition to the flow. This is the one that Miss Carter-Lowe was talking about, the milkshake and the straws. The total peripheral resistance is the TPR, and it's all vascular resistance by systemic blood vessels well away from the heart. The systemic blood pressure is the one that is contracting. So, what can increase resistance? Blood vessel diameter. The smaller the diameter, the higher the resistance. Blood viscosity, which is how thick the blood is. The higher viscosity, the thicker the blood, the higher resistance. Those two can be controlled by the body. And then the blood vessel length. Longer blood vessel length equals higher resistance, like an infant versus an adult, or somebody very tall versus somebody very short. That's the only one that's like, your body can't really control that. You're kind of born with that. Regulation of blood pressure. The nervous system output is sensory to integration to motor output. So the sensory. The receptors that monitor blood pressure are called baroreceptors. The receptors that monitor levels of CO2, O2, and pH are called chemoreceptors. Integration is the CV center of the brain is located in the medulla oblongata. The motor output, the vasomotor nerve, the sympathetic, and the thoracolumbar. The vasomotor tone is the continual moderate contraction of smooth muscles within the blood vessel. This is the activating the vasomotor nerve causes constriction of arteries. Other factors of the regulation of blood pressure are hormonal controls and renal mechanisms. Capillary exchange. An exchange of gases and some solutes occur by diffusion. Oh boy, there's the whole diffusion and filtration, I think is the other one. The volume of blood and interstitial fluid is regulated by bulk flow. Filtration is the movement of fluids and solutes from the blood capillaries to the interstitial fluid, driven by blood pressure in the capillary. Reabsorption is the movement from the interstitial fluid into the blood, driven by osmotic pressure in the capillary. Net filtration pressure, or NFP, is the blood pressure or the osmotic pressure, or the blood pressure minus the osmotic pressure. Positive net filtration pressure on atrial end is due to blood pressure being higher in arteries, thus promoting filtration. A negative net filtration pressure on the venous end is on the venous end and is due to the blood pressure being lower in the veins, thus promoting reabsorption. Stirling's law of the capillaries is that the volume of fluid filtered is approximately the same as the volume of fluid absorbed. So if the blood pressure is higher, it's going to promote filtration on the atrial side, or on the arterial side, which is going to have the positive NFP. And if the blood pressure is lower on the venous side, it's going to cause resorption, which is going to be the negative NFP, which means the blood pressure is less than the osmotic pressure. And with filtration, it means the blood pressure is greater than the osmotic pressure.